One man decided to test the woman he loved. Not with money, not with gifts, but with struggle. He did not take her to a fancy restaurant. He did not show her a life of comfort. Instead, he took her to a place no one would ever choose. A place filled with silence, broken walls, and deep poverty. A place where love is not easy to prove. Because you see, many had come before her, and every single one of them walked away. But this time, something felt different. Would she stay and love him for who he truly was? Or would she leave, just like all the others? Tonight, we find out the truth. In the quiet city of Asaba, where the sun sets slowly behind dusty roads, and life moves at its own gentle pace, people wake up every day, chasing dreams, hiding struggles, and carrying secrets no one else can see. Among them was a young man named Kofi. To everyone around him, Kofi was just a simple office worker, quiet, humble, and hard-working. He dressed modestly, spoke softly, and never tried to stand out. But behind that simple life, Kofi was hiding a truth that could change everything. Then there was Amara, a woman with a kind heart, a calm spirit, and a smile that made even the hardest days feel lighter. She was different, not drawn to wealth, not impressed by appearance. She believed in people, in kindness, in something real. They worked in the same office, saw each other almost every day. At first, it was just simple greetings, small conversations, polite smiles passing by. But slowly, those small moments began to grow. Lunch breaks turned into quiet talks. Evening walks became longer, and silence between them started to feel comfortable. Something was building, something neither of them could ignore. But while Amara was opening her heart, Kofi was holding something back, because the man she was beginning to care for was not who he seemed to be. And very soon, that hidden truth would be tested. That evening, as the sun slowly disappeared behind the city, Kofi walked beside Amara in silence. But this time, he was not taking her to the places she was used to seeing. They turned into a narrow street, quiet, almost forgotten. The road was rough, dust rising gently with every step they took. Old houses stood close together, their walls cracked, their roofs covered with rusty zinc that had seen too many rainy seasons. The air felt different here, heavy, still, like time had stopped. Amara slowed down slightly, her eyes moving carefully from one house to another. This was not what she expected. She had always wondered where Kofi lived, but he never gave her a clear answer. And now, as they walked deeper into that silent street, a strange feeling settled in her heart. Kofi's steps became slower. His hands felt cold, his heartbeat louder than ever. This was not business. This was not money. This was his heart on the line. He had been here before, with others, and every single time, it ended the same way. They saw the place, and they left, without looking back. Kofi stopped walking. Amara stopped too. Right in front of them stood a small, broken house. The roof was old and bent, rust eating through the metal. Wild grass had grown all around it, untouched, unclean, as if no one truly cared for the place. Even the door looked weak, like it could fall apart at any moment. For a second, no one spoke. Amara stared at the house, trying to understand what she was seeing. Then slowly, she turned to him, her voice soft, but filled with confusion. "Kofi, is this really where you live?" The question hung in the air. Kofi swallowed hard. This was the moment that always broke everything. Fear gripped his chest, tight, unforgiving. But this time, he could not run from it. For a moment, Kofi could not speak. He just stood there, looking at her, waiting. Amara's eyes moved slowly, from his face, back to the house. The shock was clear. This was not what she imagined. Not even close. The man she had come to know, the man she respected, was living like this. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out at first. Then slowly, that shock turned into something deeper. A quiet sadness. She stepped a little closer, looking inside the broken room, imagining him coming back here every night, sitting alone, living in silence, without ever saying a word. Her heart grew heavy. Then she turned back to him. "Kofi," she said softly, "why didn't you tell me?" The question wasn't harsh. It wasn't angry. It was hurt. Kofi looked down, unable to hold her gaze. His voice came out low, almost breaking. "I was afraid." He paused, taking a slow breath. "Afraid of losing you." Silence filled the space between them. Amara's expression changed again. This time, softer. Not judgment, not disappointment, but understanding. She looked at him, not as a poor man, but as someone who had been carrying fear, all alone. "You should have trusted me," she said gently. "When you hide something like this, it hurts more than the truth." Kofi nodded slowly, his chest tight with emotion. "I know," he whispered, "and I'm sorry." The air was still, but something had changed. This was not the moment where she walked away. This felt different. The silence lingered for a moment. Then Kofi forced a small smile. "Please sit," he said gently. "Let me get us something cold to drink." Amara looked at him, then nodded softly. Kofi turned and stepped out of the house. As he walked quickly down the narrow street, his mind was racing. Maybe this time it will be different. Maybe she will stay. He bought 2 cold drinks, holding them tightly in his hands, and hurried back. But the moment he stepped inside, he froze. The chair was empty. The room silent. Amara was gone. For a second, Kofi could not move. His eyes searched the small room, but there was nowhere to hide. The truth hit him, slowly, painfully. She left. His grip tightened around the bottles. A bitter smile formed on his face. "So, it happened again." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Just like the others." The hope he tried to hold on to broke quietly inside his chest. And in that moment, Kofi felt something heavier than before. Not surprise, but disappointment he had already known too well. Kofi stood there, still, broken in silence. Then suddenly, a voice came from outside. "Kofi!" He turned quickly, his heart skipping a beat. There she was, Amara, standing just behind the house, looking around the compound with curiosity. Kofi blinked in disbelief. She didn't leave. For a moment, he just stood there, staring at her, trying to understand what was real. Then he rushed outside to her. "I thought you left," he said quietly, still catching his breath. Amara frowned slightly, confused. "Left," she repeated. Kofi nodded slowly. "When I came back, you were gone." Amara looked at him for a second, then shook her head gently. "Kofi," she said softly, "do you really think I would leave you because of this place?" Her words landed deep. Kofi lowered his eyes, not knowing what to say. Amara stepped closer, her voice calm, but filled with truth. "I don't care about this house." She paused, looking straight into his eyes. "I love you, not your situation." Silence followed, but this time, it was not heavy. It was warm. For the first time, Kofi felt something he hadn't felt in a long while. Relief. Maybe, just maybe, this time was different. That night, after walking Amara to the bus stop, Kofi returned to the small, quiet house. The room felt different now. Not empty, not cold, but heavy with thoughts. He sat slowly on the edge of the bed, staring at the cracked wall in front of him. Amara's words echoed in his mind. I love you, not your situation. He exhaled deeply, running his hand through his hair. She doesn't know, he whispered to himself. The truth, still hidden, because Kofi was not who she believed him to be. He was not just a simple office worker. He was the only son of a powerful businessman, a man whose name carried weight across cities, across industries. In his real life, Kofi lived in a large mansion, drove expensive cars, and made decisions that controlled millions. But none of that was the life Amara had seen. All of this was a test, a plan that started after his heart was once broken. He had loved before, trusted before, but when the truth about his wealth came out, everything changed. The love he thought was real disappeared, and since then, Kofi made a decision. If I ever love again, it will be without money in the picture. So he left his comfortable life and came here to live like an ordinary man. At first, it was just an experiment, but then he met Amara, and everything changed. Kofi leaned back, staring at the rusty ceiling above him. For the first time, someone had chosen him without knowing anything about his wealth. But now, that truth had become a problem. His voice dropped to a whisper. What if she finds out? He closed his eyes slowly, because deep down, he knew one thing: the longer he hides the truth, the more painful it will be when it finally comes out. The next day, the office felt normal, but beneath that calm, something was changing. People had started noticing the way Kofi and Amara spoke, the way they walked together, the quiet bond growing between them. But not everyone was happy. There was one man watching everything closely. Mr. Okoro, a senior officer in the company, strict, proud, and feared by many. But his problem was not just authority. Months ago, he had shown interest in Amara, and she had turned him down. Since then, something inside him had changed, and now, seeing her close to Kofi, a man he believed was nothing, made his anger grow even more. Kofi! His voice suddenly echoed through the office. Kofi looked up calmly. Yes, sir. Come here. Kofi walked over. Mr. Okoro pointed at a pile of files. Take these to the storage room. Yes, sir. Minutes later. Kofi. Yes, sir. Bring me water. Again, he obeyed. Then again. Kofi. This time, his tone was sharper. Clean this desk. Kofi paused for a second, but said nothing. He quietly picked up a cloth and started cleaning. Mr. Okoro leaned back, smiling slightly. You think you are important here? He asked mockingly. Kofi looked up, calm but firm. No, sir. Mr. Okoro laughed. Good, because you are nothing. The room went quiet. Kofi took a slow breath, then finally spoke. Sir, I respect you, but please, treat me with respect too. The words hung in the air. Mr. Okoro's face changed instantly. What did you just say? I only asked for respect, Kofi replied calmly. That was enough. In a flash, slap, the sound echoed through the entire office. Everyone froze. Kofi's face turned slightly, but he did not fight back. He just stood there, holding his cheek, in silence. Then suddenly, is this how you treat people? A strong voice cut through the tension. It was Amara. She stepped forward, her eyes filled with anger. What are you doing? She demanded. Mr. Okoro frowned. This is none of your business. Amara moved closer, fearless. It becomes my business when someone is being treated unfairly. The room was silent. Her voice, steady, powerful. If you touch him again, I will report this to management. Mr. Okoro hesitated. For the first time, he looked unsure. Slowly, he released Kofi's shirt. and stepped back. Kofi adjusted his clothes quietly. Amara turned to him. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Kofi nodded. "I'm fine." But inside, his heart felt heavier than ever. Not because of the slap, but because she stood up for him, without knowing who he really was. And in that moment, the secret he was hiding became even harder to carry. The tension in the office was still heavy. No one moved. No one spoke. Then suddenly, outside the building, the sound of engines, low, powerful, 2 black luxury cars, slowly drove into the compound. Heads turned instantly. Whispers began to spread. "Who is that?" The cars came to a smooth stop. First, men in clean suits stepped out. Then, the back door opened. An elderly man stepped out calmly, dressed with quiet authority. The moment some senior staff saw him, their faces changed. "The chairman," someone whispered. Silence fell over the entire place. He walked forward slowly, his presence commanding respect without a word. Then his eyes landed on the scene, on Kofi, and then on Mr. Okoro's hand, still gripping his shirt. His expression hardened. He stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. "Kofi." The name echoed. "What is going on here?" The entire office froze. Kofi's heart began to race. This was not how he planned it. Not like this. Not in front of everyone. Amara stood beside him, confused. Her eyes moved between them. "Kofi," she said softly, "do you know him?" Before Kofi could answer, the man spoke again. "My son." The words dropped like thunder. "I asked you a question." Silence. Pure shock. Whispers exploded across the office. "His son. That clerk. No, it can't be." Amara's face slowly changed. Confusion. Shock. Disbelief. She looked at Kofi again, as if seeing him for the first time. And in that moment, the truth he had been hiding for so long was finally exposed. The words still echoed in the air. "My son." Amara stood frozen. Her eyes slowly turned to Kofi, searching his face, hoping this was not true. But the silence said everything. Her voice trembled. "Kofi." A pause. "You were testing me?" Kofi stepped forward slightly. "Amara, I." But she raised her hand, stopping him. Tears filled her eyes. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, painful. "All this time," she said softly, "you let me believe you were struggling." Her voice broke slightly. "That house, that life." She shook her head slowly. "You made me feel it was real." Kofi's chest tightened. "I never wanted to hurt you." But the damage was already done. Amara looked at him one last time. Not with anger, but with disappointment. "You didn't trust me," she whispered. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Then slowly, she stepped back. "I need space." And without another word, she turned and walked away. Kofi stood there, unable to move, watching the one person who truly loved him walk out of his life. Kofi stood there, alone, in silence, the noise of the office fading away, but the pain in his chest growing louder. For the first time, he did not feel powerful. He did not feel rich. He felt empty. He had searched for true love. He had tested hearts. He had waited for someone real. And when he finally found it, he broke it. He finally found true love, the voice echoed softly. But maybe too late. Kofi lowered his head, closing his eyes in regret. Because some mistakes do not come with a second chance. Then slowly, the question remains. Would you forgive him if you were Amara?